Good evening and welcome. It is Sunday night. It is 7 o'clock. WOSFL Weekly. I'm your host, Johnny Bailey. Delighted to be joined by my bi-weekly partner, PG. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, mate. I'm good, mate. Delighted to see that CUMNOCK got a win today. That was great news. Aye, happy to be here, mate. So, how are you?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. It's
Lighter
been
nights and everything. I'm sitting looking out into the back garden and it's nice and light.
apart from the hailstones that have just pelted down here in Ayrshire, but apart from
We
that,
don't
we're all
we don't get that here.
right. You've got the man to make sure the weather's okay up in posh
Aye.
Bishopton or whatever it is you're for. I know I'm good, mate. I'm good. Really busy. It's been a busy few weeks and stuff like that. So the show's been really good. I don't know if you caught last week with Ross. Really
I
good
never.
insight. Huh?
I did not, mate. I feel like I have no time for anything.
I know it is to be expected, but it's a good one to go back and watch because I wanted to put to him the question, and we'll come on to it later on a wee bit maybe, but I spoke to him a wee bit about this when he was on the radio, when he was on Now Ayrshire Radio with us. Like, he must be getting sick of people like going, "Oh, well done, Muircup," like "good wee Muircup," look at how well
Aye.
they're doing, or that kind of thing. And you should listen to it because he was quite strong on it. Do you know what I mean? He was basically like, "It's no my fault they've been rubbish for 30 years." Do you know what I mean? We're no rubbish now, so stop going on about it. Do you know? So he was really good. He was really good, to be fair. And I asked him if he was in for the Drum Chapel job, and he said no. So
Well, that's an interesting one. Obviously, it's one we'll come to. It's interesting to see what's going to happen there.
I know. Right. We will come on to it. We'll cover everything as we always do. Loads of talking points, PG, loads of stuff to chew over. As always, moves, managerial moves, signings, cup wins, etc., etc. So thanks for joining us. If you are watching us, get involved as ever. Your engagement is much appreciated. Any questions, comments you've got for us about anything that's going on in the west of Scotland? When PG and I do this show every 2 weeks, it's a good opportunity for us just to talk about anything you want to talk about, because when we've got the managers on, we tend to kind of focus more on their jobs, etc., etc. So it's a good chance. You get any rumours, anything you want us to talk about, then please fire it in the chat. If you're watching, hit the like button on YouTube. It says there's 24 people watching, so can we just all hit the like button now and then that's it done? Because we go back and there's like 10, 11 likes and stuff like that. And it would make a big difference that if you're watching or even re-watching, just hit the like button on the stream. It's much appreciated.
That's the thing, Johnny. I know. Like, obviously, people are listening, and it's fantastic. And it's not the end of the world if you don't. But in terms of getting the show out there, getting the likes and all that, it makes a difference. It pushes YouTube push it based on likes and shares and all that type of stuff, so we can grow the channel, get better stuff on board, and just grow the level. Because let's be honest, that's what we're all here for. We love this level of football.
Aye, definitely. And if you're listening on audio, download the episode, rate and review on your podcast networks. We are sponsored by the good folks at Roxburgh Insurance Brokers, GLA Chauffeurs, and of course, Gary and the guys at VSN Sport. And don't forget, you can hear us every Monday evening still, PG, on East End Community
Every Monday.
Radio. So make sure you check us out there if you're looking for something to listen to. Right, mate. We may as well we'll get the cup games as we always tend to do. We'll get the cup games out the way to begin with. We might as well start with the game that was played today. CUMNOCK winning the South Challenge Cup, beating University of Stirling 2-0. Massive congratulations to CUMNOCK. Sounds as if it was reasonably comfortable for them, going by what I've been hearing. And what I would say, PG, is we had Stephen Swift on Now Ayrshire Radio yesterday morning talking about the game and stuff like that, doing a wee preview for the game. And I was thinking about it before the show tonight because I knew we were obviously going to talk about it. But see, when I think back to that interview, it just seemed to me like he was ready, like they were ready for this. You know, he just had that kind of steely focus in his voice and that determination. So no surprise to see them go and win the day.
It's a great result for them. I mean, I know University of Stirling can be a wee bit up and down at times, but they're a good side. They dished out a couple of doings to get to the final. But CUMNOCK
10-0, didn't they?
Aye. As much as I was quite critical of CUMNOCK last season, but this is one of the ones where sometimes it shows when you give a manager time and you allow them to put their plans across. And it might not go. Don't get me wrong. Like last season was not. It was not a failure for them. Like we said, they finished 7th, and it was the highest they've been in the last few years. But they're better than that, and they're showing that this season, and it's just a tremendous result. And he must know, like, you know, it's like you've been there yourself, Johnny. See, when you're doing well, you kind of feel like, I don't know how we're going to lose. It just gets that way, and that's obviously the way they are now. So congratulations to Swifty and CUMNOCK, all the players and everybody involved, because that's a really good win. I know we've spoken about how bad the sponsorship is with the South and how little prize money there is, but that's a big competition. That is so many teams in it. It's such a big competition, and for a team who are not in the Lowland League to go and win it, congratulations, CUMNOCK. Really well done.
Aye, there will be nobody in that CUMNOCK dressing room that will give a jot about the fact there's no prize money.
Nah.
You know, they will be absolutely buzzing that they've won a cup. And see, at the end of the day, see now, they've won a cup. They're going to get promoted. I know they're up there challenging for the league now. They're in the title race. But this has been a really successful season for them, because they're going to get promoted and they've won a cup. So,
yep.
So and it's like 29th of March and you're saying Swifty job done, basically. Do you know what I mean?
It's fantastic. It's just, it's job done. It's the league's not gone either. I mean, that's this. I know you're not saying that, but see, in terms of, like, we're saying job done, they've still in with a real good shout. See if they've still got Talbot to play twice. I mean, you win the games twice, they are right in the hunt, and it becomes a proper 3-way race to see who can win the Premier League.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No. So finally, I just see Kenny just saying there that CUMNOCK were up for it more than the uni, and then he's just saying that the uni boys have school in the morning, which maybe
play on words.
Aye, but but I think that was kind of what, like I said, I just felt talking to him yesterday that they were ready for it. Like, obviously, Stephen knows the level as well, been in the lower league with BSC, etc. and stuff like that. So, massive congratulations to everybody connected with CUMNOCK. Big well done to them. Into the other cup game in the West, Auchinleck take care of Johnston Borough 3-1. I see Auchinleck signed Corey Armour again on loan from Kilmarnock, the goalkeeper. So I don't know if I saw Jordan Longmuir was on the bench. Don't know if Willie Muir's picked up an injury, but it's good to get Corey back. He's a very good goalie. And I saw that they're bringing back Jamie Glasgow as well on a short term to the end of the season. Probably, I mean, I don't mean this in a bad way, but it's probably like a body. Do you know what I mean? That Jamie's obviously was at Whitlets at the start of the year. It didn't work out. I don't know if he's been playing somewhere, but Tucker knows him, knows what he'll get out of him, and he's somebody that he can rely on to see them through the end of the season. But on yesterday's game, sounds fairly straightforward for Auchinleck. And Johnston Borough going out another cup. That's 2 cups in 3 weeks that Johnston Borough's went out. So Murday will just need to focus on catching up these league games to get them still in the top 8.
Great result for the Talbot. Another cup where they're progressing through and doing really well. Bringing in Corey, obviously did well before. Somebody that Tucker's obviously keen on having in the team. And then you've got Jamie as well, where Jamie might be getting, I'm not saying Jamie's old, right? But he's maybe getting on a wee touch. But he's somebody Tucker knows, somebody Tucker trusts, somebody that's won things for him. So you know what it's like as a coach. See, as long as you've got players that you know you can trust, then you're in a good position. It's a good body to add in. I think he's got more quality than some of the other players that they've signed in the last, maybe the odd player or two they've signed in the last wee while. I think Jamie's got a bit more quality than they do. So I think it's well done to them. In terms of Johnston Borough, it's not good enough this year, is it? I mean, we're looking at out of every cup, the losing to Dundee North End to beat them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't know much about Dundee North End, but that's not a game that Johnston Borough should be losing. It really isn't. Losing to Talbot's not the end of the world in normal circumstances, but I never want to say a manager should go, because I was literally just talking about how I criticised CUMNOCK last year and Swifty's been absolutely flying this year. But there's got to be questions asked. Murday will know himself that this is nowhere near good enough. They've only been able to win 11 at their 18 league games. Excuse me. and then you're at all the cups. I just don't think it's good enough for a club who have got the quality that the Borough have, the financial backing that the Borough have got. They're miles away from it, and that's really, really poor in my eyes.
Aye, it would be interesting to get if there was any Johnstone Borough fans listening or watching, like what they feel's maybe missing this season. Do you know what I mean? Like what they're maybe struggling with. I know they went through that period where they lost the 4 games and they think they'd only scored 1 goal or no goals or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be interesting to see what they think. But I suppose now it's all about how they finish the season. Finish the season strongly, get into that low League West, and then kind of take it from there.
I'm a bit in two camps where ultimately getting promoted into the Lone League West next season is the main aim. Losing in cups is going to happen. See if you're losing kind of latter stages of cups, it's not the end of the world. But to me, you're sitting 7th in the league. I still think they've got too much to no go up. I genuinely believe there's almost no chance they won't go up. But sitting 6th or 7th in the Premier League with the resources they've got anywhere near good enough, I don't think it is.
Aye, but like I said, I probably agree with it. It's probably not where they wanted to be, but as I said, we'll see. I think this year, getting that top 8, they would have expected to challenge, but top 8's a minimum. But they'll be really disappointed to go out of that cup competition yesterday and then going to play Talbot going to play Hurlford in the semi-final, and the winner plays Troon. Who's your? Do you fancy that? Do you think Talbot will beat Hurlford?
I think Hurlford have had a wee dip in form as well, so I think that the Talbot will beat them. Hurlford are one of the teams, you see it with the league, they either win or they lose. There's no draws in there, you know what I mean? So they can beat the Talbot. I just think if the Talbot turn up, then they'll win, and it'll be a really good tie between Troon and Talbot if that's what it turns out to be. But will Troon be able to do a bit better than the last couple of games where they've suffered heavy defeats?
Mm-hmm. Aye. Well, going on to the Premier League, talking about Troon, with both CUMNOCK and Auchinleck not in league action, Troon had the chance to go 4 points clear at the top of the table. And as we always say, we know they've played more games, but still they've got those points in the bag, and they do it in style. 6-1 away to Rutherglen, 4-0 up at half time, and then just take care of business. Really, it's an impressive result in the manner that they went about it. I was kind of following it on social media because of the kickoff time, and I think they were like 2-3 up really quickly and just must have just killed the game. And that's it. And while we're on that game, PG, just your thoughts on Rutherglen changing their manager, Tam Miller coming in to take over as manager there.
Quite interesting. I don't know why that would happen. I know they're sitting second bottom of the league, but for Glencairn, that's not the be all and end all this season. They kind of get relegated. The management team had done a really good job, I thought. I mean, getting promoted last year, really competitive side. I mean, I really hope Tam does well. He's a former teammate of mine, so I hope he does really well, and I wish him all the best. But I wonder if there's something else going on behind the scenes, because it was strange. And I also saw in the announcement when they were saying Tam was taking over that it was likely that he would be taking the team for next season as well, which the wording of that seemed a bit strange to me. I don't really understand why they...
Like, what is Rutherglen's ambitions? You know what I mean? Because they seem to bounce back and forth between the First Division and the Premier Division quite regularly. They never really... Maybe I'm misspeaking here, but I don't think they've ever really sustained a period in the Premier League. But I don't think they have the investment or the wages to be able to do that. So when you're in that kind of situation, like what... And Liam's just saying there, the statement said results and performances weren't up to scratch, but it's just like the managers have been there for a while, do you know, and they've done well getting them promoted and stuff. I would have liked to see the club show a bit of loyalty to them personally, but that's just always the way and that's nothing against Tam. I don't know Tam, so it's nothing against him, but it's just my view is always that managers should get more time, and especially getting them promoted. What is their ambitions? I don't really... Seems like they're not quite aligned.
You're spot on when you say they're a team that bounce up and down. I think that Glencairn are a very good First Division team. And to me, this has been an outsider. Success to me for Glencairn would be a team who could push mid-table in the Premier League. That's to me would be success, and maybe see things.
Like what Shots are doing personally.
100%. They're very similar type clubs in that sense, and like I said, Tam's an ex-teammate of mine. He's a great guy as well. I really wish him all the best. I hope that he can pick up some results and keep the job for next season, because they're definitely going to be more competitive next season than this season, because you're obviously losing the top 8 teams. So they're all gone. And for talking sake, say Glencairn are sitting 15th in the league. That's the equivalent of them being 6th or 7th in the league in a normal situation in terms of like where the teams below them are. So I don't really understand it myself. I don't see the need, but maybe there's other things behind the scenes, and the committee just really weren't happy with the style of football they're playing, because I've not seen them play this season. But it was a really good win for Troon, though.
Let's vote. We were done Troon then.
We're talking about Troon obviously having played more games. They're 6 points clear, and the Talbot are 3 games behind. They're 4 points clear of CUMNOCK, and CUMNOCK are a game behind. So they're in a situation where it's so tight. I mean, Talbot go and drop points in the next game, Troon win. They've opened a really good gap there. They're definitely in a position where you're saying you'd probably rather have the points and know that that's there instead of having the games in hand, because they're no guarantees.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and just looking ahead to Wednesday night, PG just probably put a bow in that. Auchinleck play Shots at home, and Troon play Hurlford at home on Wednesday night.
I would expect 2 home wins there.
So with that personally, but Shots good result yesterday going to Hurlford and winning. But I'm the same as.
I think. See, if you're like in terms of Troon, they've obviously not won a league title in I don't know how long. See, if you want to be a team who are going to go and win league titles, playing Hurlford at home is a game that you have to go and win. You just have to. I'm not saying if they don't win it, they won't win the league, but in terms of if you want to go and cement it and make sure, you've got to go and win the games.
Aye, no, I would probably agree with you. And then Johnstone Borough play St Catherick's on Wednesday as well. And then just while I'm on it, Drumchapel play Largs as well on Tuesday night. So a really good result I felt was Pollock bouncing back to beat Drumchapel 2-1 after losing heavily last week at CUMNOCK, 5-0 at CUMNOCK, for Stuart Maxwell to get the guys to bounce back, and just because they've been on such a good run. And it was funny because when we were talking to Josh, he was just saying like how things have just kind of clicked into place, and you were kind of worried that a heavy defeat could derail that whole thing, but they've shown great character to get back and get another win in the column against still managerless Drumchapel. Yep.
I would see in terms of Pollock. I mean, I know I predicted them. I was the only one that predicted them to go up. But that was a very hard one for me to call, because I thought it was going to be really tight. Their run of form has been fantastic. I know we've spoken at length about their budget being a lot smaller than quite a few teams in the league, probably most teams. They had to bring in a lot of players for lower leagues. And see, to be honest, the job that the management team have done there since kind of November-ish time is fantastic. I mean, they're one of the most informed teams in the league. It's just such a good turnaround, and I don't know when to win the league, but to me, Pollock finishing within the top 5 is one of it would put them in one of the achievements of the season for me, because I just did not think that they were going to be able to do that. So they've done really well. They've really turned it around, and it's just good to see. I'm really pleased for them, pleased for Josh and that as well, knowing that they've been putting a lot of hard work in. So it's great to see.
Aye, no, absolutely. And have you heard anything, Drumchapel? What would you kind of alluded to something?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
It's weird, isn't it?
So I know that a couple of people have applied for it, and I won't say names just for their own privacy with it, but there's 2 in particular. There was one in particular I think would maybe do well at it, but I don't know. I don't know why it's taking so long. I don't know if JB wants to take the team. Because obviously he was kind of co-manager with Hopi. I don't know if JB wants to continue and just take the team. I really don't know. And what Liam said, he's heard a rumour that they've approached Willie Dyer. Willie obviously was there with Drumchapel for a few seasons, and I think Willie would do a great job. If I was Willie, I'd stay at Arthurlie. I think that the work he's doing there is excellent, and it's a club who, even though the Drum are doing great things, Arthurlie is a more established club. They're going to have the new park in a year and a half's time. I think if I was Willie, I'd stay where I am. But I'm intrigued to see how it goes.
Aye, it's interesting when you talk about that and you talk about Atherley. Like there was obviously the whole stuff with Colin leaving Atherley that seemed as if the place was a bit of a mess. But since Willie's come in, it's all been pretty quiet on that front. There's not really been anything around that. Everything seems pretty harmonious. Now they're winning games, winning mass, everything as I always say. But it's interesting that there's been nothing there. You know?
I know it's strange, and like you said, winning does mask pretty much everything. But it is strange that it's just completely.
Because I think Kenny's just saying that they've been given approval for the licence, Drumchapel. So I think for me, it's like if you're Willie, and again, we're just going off Liam's rumour here that it's maybe looking short term versus long term. Do you know what I mean? Because you could look at Drumchapel and say they've got a licence, they could finish and get in the Lower League West, but then Atherley could maybe be a better long term project for them, if that makes sense.
Aye, no, I agree. I think that Atherley's a bigger club than Drumchapel. I think he should stay where he is because they're kind of a sleeping giant, Atherley, and there's no too many clubs at our level who are bigger than them. And next season, I think that they could go and win the league as well if they continue in the form that they're in. I mean, as it stands, themselves and Hurlford would be the top two ranked teams in the Premier League next season. But it's interesting. But I just wanted, before we move on and talk about co-winning, because obviously we're going to have to talk about Chris Stranger in there. I just want to give a big shout out to Jimmy Quigley and Renfrew getting a win. I was really pleased to see that yesterday. I'd love to see Renfrew go up. I don't think it'll happen this year, but I'd love to see Renfrew go up. But are
they getting their licence? Did I see? I heard somebody say that they won there.
So I'd heard that everybody apart from Hurlford.
Kenny can tell us if he's allowed, but.
I'd heard that everybody apart from Hurlford and Atherley were going for the licence, but then I also heard the same view.
Is that, Kenny, no, you can't tell us, or no, they're not, no, they're taking the licence?
I did hear as well that they were going for it, but then that they weren't going for it, so it does look like to me like they probably won't be, but again, Renfrew didn't get it.
Renfrew didn't get it, so I've also heard that Shotts didn't get it as well, PG. Right. So that's what I've heard. So as it stands right now, we've obviously got Atherley, Hurlford, Shotts, Renfrew that now all can't go up.
Aye, and that's the thing. It's they're 4 teams who'll be really looking to try and do something in the league next season, and it'll be good to see that for them. But moving on to St Cadoc's, obviously with a new management team in there, still we got a win, but saying that's not really on them with the fact that they're playing a lot of young guys and they've come in and it's a hard shift. Playing against co-winning, losing 3-0, co-winning, Chris Strain back, which I think...
People were watching last week, they would have saw me say that I heard that was going to be the case. It wasn't really... I'm not exactly Inspector Gadget working that one out, but it was, I did tell the people on here last week.
Aye, that had been the rumour. I think that was doing the rounds with quite a few group chats and stuff with Strainigan. I heard a lot of players weren't happy that Kev was leaving, but they've responded really well, getting a win. And I think that
players are fickle as anything.
Oh, of course they are.
I hate that. Like it happens all the time. Like players are not happy, and then you see them and they're all in the starting lineup and they're scoring goals. Do you know what I mean? And they're all hugging each other after the game and stuff like that. Like players are fickle as anything, man.
Aye, of course. I mean, we've both been fickle players, but that gives co-winning a really good chance of getting promoted, having Strainey in. I don't think, other than one or two other managers, the track record that any manager at this level is as good as Strainey's. Co-winning, he got them to finish 4th in the league a few years back. He leaves them, they get relegated. Back-to-back trophies, league titles with Beith. They're sitting in the relegation zone if it was a normal season this season. These teams are not really the same when Strainey leaves, so I think that it's a great appointment for them. I know there's a lot of change in the background. The chairman leaving, Ben, the media man leaving, so there's a lot of turmoil by the looks at it. But for what I'm hearing, there's a decent bit of investment getting in as well. So I think that's a great appointment for co-winning, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them starting to throw some wins together. It might not be enough this season, but if they if they can
I
turn
think
it
with the
around.
other teams, with what we're talking about, PG, it really opens it up because you're looking in the top 8 already. You've got Athley and Hurlford who are out straight away. You know, I mean, the other teams that we're spoken about that aren't probably going to be licensed are below. So you're looking at down to 10th and going in a
Yep.
point behind Glenafton
I
in
know.
10th. So
With 8 games to go, I know.
you know, it's more than doable, and Chris is more than good enough to put a run together to get them up. And I wouldn't be surprised to see that, to be honest.
I wouldn't be surprised myself, particularly when you put it like that.
And then, not just on that as well. I looked at I was checking social media before I came in. I saw that Paul McDougall had left St Ants, and he obviously worked with Chris at Bede, I think. So I think it might be a reunion
Well,
on the cards there because I saw
obviously
that they
we'd
said
spoken earlier today because you'd sent me the picture of the tweet, and I'd said to you I'd heard maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago that if Straney was getting a job, then Paul McDougall would leave the Ants. I don't even know how, was it 4 games or something? So I think it's probably a good move for Paul. I don't know him personally, but I think it's probably a good move for him because the Ants at this moment in time is an exceptionally difficult job. And I know there'll be lots of applicants who'll be going for it because that just seems to be the nature of the beast just now. But that's an exceptionally difficult job. So probably a good move for Paul if he gets on well with Straney. If that's the case, we've obviously not had it announced, but it is what I was told weeks ago. So there is a good chance that we'll see him there.
we're just putting 2 and 2 together, aren't we? And,
Aye. So it'll be interesting to see what happens during Conan.
Aye, like we normally do. Shots beat Hurlford 4-1, both of them kind of go up, so it's kind of meaningless. Lars beat Glenafton 3-0. You get anything on those two to kind of put a but I suppose the only I thought was interesting was Ricky Little signing for Glenafton during the week.
I did see that, aye. Glenafton will be a bit disappointed because obviously they had 3 wins in a row and then they lost to Troon and then they get back to winning ways against Glencairn and then drew with Glencairn and then losing to Largs. That inconsistency is going to be a real issue for them because it did look like they were starting to pick up, but it's a good result for Largs. They needed that to kind of keep themselves in the hunt, and I think that Largs will have enough to get themselves into the promotion spots and get up into the Lone League West next season.
Mm-hmm. Yep, no, definitely. Okay, into the first division. I suppose, like I said, Irvine Meadow take care of Neilston, who are on a horrendous run of form at the minute, just sliding down that table, beat them 4-2. St Rock's keep in touch with them, beating Rob Roy 3-0, which I think is a really, really good result for them.
Yep.
But obviously, game of the day is at Recreation Park where Darvel and Ardrossan play out of West of Scotland Cracker, beating them 5-4.
Well, we were looking, we'll talk every week about the average goals per game, and you just look at that being a 9-goal thriller, the Gartcairn and Muir Cup being a 7-goal thriller. Great value for money, and what a job Nacho Novo's done at Darvel. I mean, I did not expect it to turn around like it has, and I don't imagine too many did. I think if they say they did, then they're maybe telling me porkies. But what a job he's done. He's really transformed them into a team who are looking like an absolute stick-on to get promoted back into the Premier League. It's been a really tough 18 months for Darvel, and obviously it didn't work out quite like how they hoped with Mick, but that's a great run of form.
Can you imagine when Nacho came into Darvel and you'd said by the 1st of April they'll be sitting 3rd in the league?
Oh, no chance. I just don't. Even if you thought they were maybe going to pick up, you were not going to be thinking that they were going to go on a run of form like that and get themselves right back in the hunt.
Aye, because you look at Benburb and you say they've maybe picked up a wee bit since the new guys come in and they're up to 12th, which is obviously a good improvement in where they were when they first came in. But what Nacho's done at Darvel, but what a game! What a game! What a game!
I know, brilliant. And Ardrossan are a good side. They're no mugs, you know what I mean? So it makes the result even better, I think, for Darvel because it obviously with Tony coming in Ardrossan, I think we've expected things to really pick up, and I wouldn't say it's maybe went as quite as well as they wanted when he came in, but it's still early doors. But they need to be wary of likes of Muirkirk below them.
I think it's just the games that Drogheda have played. That was what the impression I got when I spoke to Tony, was just the number of games they've played doesn't give them much room for error. That's 3 defeats on the spin for them, so they'll want to arrest that slide as quickly as they can to try and get themselves into that top 8.
Well, you look at Muirkirk, which is about to touch on. There's 7 games in hand and 2 points behind them. Muirkirk have lost 3 in their first 16, so Muirkirk are not going to lose 5-6 games out of the 7 games in hand. I just cannot see it. They're a good side. They're better than their 10th in the league shows, and that's mainly because of the cup competitions they did well. So Ardrossan, they need to be careful, because Gartcairn are only played a game more and only a point behind. And Gartcairn have clearly, even though they've not been winning, they have clearly improved. I mean, that's losing by a goal to Muirkirk, drawing with Kilburney last week, losing by a goal to Petershill, which they've been disappointed. Then they had 2 draws with Lanark and Thorneywood before that. Mm-hmm. So they've kind of stopped the rut. They've stopped the doings, the no scoring goals. Defensively, they obviously still look a bit shaky, but they're able to go and score goals. So Ardrossan, they need to be careful with that.
Mm-hmm. Aye, and just on Muirkirk, the gamer GG Mason is just saying they've got 7 games in 14 days, which coming up in May. But what I looked into it, and my maths might be wrong, but I think they've got 10 games in 22 days.
That's insane. I know.
I think from like I think it's is it the end of April? No, middle of April. 15th of April, I think they play Monday, Wednesday, Saturday to the end of the season.
Aye, looking at it, so 15th, 18th, 22nd, 25th, 27th, 29th of April, then the 2nd, 4th, 6th, and 9th of May. That's horrific. I mean, that's not even like, see if they were full-time football players, that would be horrendous.
Oh, these
guys are going to their work and having to try and. I mean, you know, it's like anybody that's played knows what it's like. Where say you play on the Monday night, and by the time everything's done, you're up the road for 10 o'clock or whatever, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, depending on where you're playing. And you might be back up for your work at 6 a.m. There's no recovery
after night games as well. I don't know what it is, adrenaline or whatever. Mm-hmm. But you can't. I don't know if you were the same when you played, but if I played a night game, I couldn't get to sleep to 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm. And then these guys are back up for work at 6, 7 in the morning. Maybe get manual labour jobs where there's absolutely zero recovery, and then you get a night's sleep, and then you're working the next day, and then playing that night. It's just, I'm not blaming anybody, because that is the nature of the beast at this level when you've done well in cups and stuff, and you've had maybe games off. But this is where we'll really see what the squad depth and quality is like for Muirkirk. And if Muirkirk do, I still think they've got enough to get promoted, but if they do have quite a few slip-ups, it's not to do with quality, I don't think.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. And like you said, I don't know what the solution is, because it's not like, you know, it's, again, I don't know about I don't know what, everybody would love to find the magic pill that gets rid of fixture congestion for certain teams, because it's going to be the same for Auchinleck and Johnston Borough and, you know, other teams, Dalry down the leagues and stuff like that. They're gonna have the same, but there's not really much that we can do. Do you know what I mean? And I think we only ever hear about it because the team that it affects complains, if that makes sense, which you can understand. But the other, I mean, you're looking maybe 5 or 6 teams that will find themselves in that situation. The other 75 are fine. Do you know what? You know, so. But it's always the negative voices are always the loudest, I find.
It's just one of the things you're going to hear them. I don't imagine Muirkirk are going to bitch and moan too much about it, but
I mean, if you saw
what can you do? It's really tough. But result for me, I know Petershill having a really, really poor season, but a good result for me was Kilburney beating them again. They're continuing that really good run of form. 10 wins they've got now. It's good. We spoke about it a couple of weeks ago when I was on. It's good to see them. It's good to see them kind of getting back to where they probably should be. And Cumbernauld as well, beating Whitlets 3-0 again, another team who are having a really poor season. But you've got to go out and beat them and keep yourself in the hunt for the top 8. So it's a really, really good couple of results for both of them.
Aye. Just noticed Kenny's there saying solutions not to finish the season halfway through May. Whose decision is that, Kenny, and why can't it be extended. I can understand maybe the Premier League if they've got to play a playoff against a team that's maybe finished their season, but doing the leagues, I don't see any reason why we couldn't extend it down the leagues, into the end of May or start of June. I remember the season used to go on to start, like sometimes you'd be playing towards the end of May, so I don't know if it's maybe in the constitution or something like that, do you know what I mean? So maybe Kenny will give us the answer. But great result for Kilbirnie, another good result for Vale of Clyde, again, just continuing to keep themselves up at the top end of the table, sitting in fourth, and Thornywood beat Benburb, which was important for Thornywood to get off the slippery slope a wee bit because they hadn't won in 8, I think, if I'm right. Or they'd won 1 in 8, so it was good for Adam and the boys to get another win and try and keep touch with the guys in the top 8 because that moves them up to 11th in the table.
What's your view, Johnny, on Benburb? I know you kind of touched on them.
I don't know much about them, PG. I'm going to be honest. I really don't. So I don't know much about them. Kenny's just saying it was a bold decision to fit in the Lowland League playoffs, but we don't need that now. So maybe that's something that they can look at next year, is doing away with that middle of May finish to try and alleviate some of the congestion. On Benburb, PG, I don't really know much about them. Sorry, so I'm not really too clued up on them.
As a outsider bystander, if you want to, what's your view on them sitting 12th in the league?
Well, I think for
21
me,
games in.
They came in and it wasn't going well. So there's obviously been improvement for them on the park, and I think they've given themselves a fighting chance. Which I think when the guys come in, that's all you could probably really ask for. Because they've really all the teams have kind of detached themselves from Whitlets at the bottom of the table. Lanark, I don't think will just have enough to challenge, but I genuinely think from Petershill up in Petershill in 14th up, I think any of those teams will be looking at that league table thinking we've got a chance, and I think that's all you could really ask when Gordon and the guys come into Benburb.
Do you know? I understand what you're saying. Just looking at the fixtures as well, because we're obviously talking about Drawson having to be wary. Benburb are 2 games behind, with they're 6 points behind with 2 games in hand, obviously. Now their next 2 games are Gartcairn and Lanark. So Lanark, Gartcairn is I. Now see if they can win those games, and that's, for talking's sake, that's your games in hand, and you've caught them. It's really good, but see if they don't win those games. I think if they don't win both of those games, it's done. I don't think that there's any chance for them getting promoted, because you're looking at really they probably need to win. If 9 games to go, they probably need to win 5. And we know what it's like at the end of the season. These things, sometimes teams down there just go on runs because they have to do it. But if you're asking a team who have won 7 out of 21, you go and win 5 out of 9, that might not even be enough to get themselves into the top 8. I think it's unlikely. I think that Petershill are gone. I think there's no chance. I think they've had a shocking season. Actually, funnily enough, even though they're ahead of Lanark, I think Lanark have had a pretty good season, considering where they started the season. And obviously Whitlets, it's borderline shambles their season they've had as well. So I think there's a lot of big teams down there. Nielsen as well, like you touched on earlier, falling away. There's teams down there who you really wouldn't expect to be down there and know them well enough. I think the way that it is just now, down to Thornywood in 11th is probably where my cut-off would be. I just don't think the Bens have got enough to go and get themselves into the top 8.
Aye. I mean, it's a good result during the week. They beat Drury Darvel during the week, which is a good result, although I think there's a bit of shambles. I think the lights went off. The lights went off before the end of the game. So they had to go across the Asda and get some change and put 50 pence in the meter get the lights back on at New Tinto. But to be honest with you, mate, I don't really... I can't remember in the preview show, but I'm pretty sure I didn't pick Benburb to go back up. I don't really see them as a Premier League side, to be honest with you, mate. And I think staying in the first division, well, it's no ideal for them. I mean, the first division next year, you're looking at, if you get teams like Petershill and Benburb and teams like that, it could be a really competitive division next year, looking at the teams that could potentially stay. in that league. But Neilston, I mean, the bottom four in form right now, if you look at the last 10, Neilston, Gap Cairn, Whitlets and Lanark. Now, Gap Cairn, Whitlets have been poor all season. Lanark, we know their struggles, but they've had a couple of decent results. But Neilston's 1 win in 10, 6 defeats out of the last 7. You know, I don't know what's happened, because they were sitting third in the league at one point.
I know.
And you wouldn't expect them to beat Oviedo yesterday, but if they want to try and get, well, I don't know if they can turn that kind of run around, but they're away to Rob Roy on Wednesday night as well, if you're looking for a game to go to. So that will be another difficult one for them to go there.
Aye, definitely. I know I asked this a couple of weeks ago and I can't remember. But who is the Petershill manager just now?
You're at?
Don't know. It's if anybody knows, if you could put it in the comments, it'd be appreciated.
You're meant to be the Glasgow guy, PG.
I know. It's terrible. I don't know. But it's just really. Do you know? I actually feel quite disappointing with Petershill, because we've spoken about it a few times about them being the kind of bridesmaid where they just miss out, and you're like, right, this is a season the top 8 go up. There's no way that Petershill are not going to be in the top 8, because they've been like 4th and 5th and I think 6th as well. You're like, there's no way they're not going to make the top 8, and then they're sitting 14th in the league. And I just wonder what's going on there, because they're obviously a historically massive team at a level. They've had reasonable funds over the years. And
see, the thing is, though, PG, like you say, and this is a bit of the reverse Muirkirk that we were talking about with Ross. Just because Muirkirk were good, Petershill were good years ago.
I know.
You know what I mean? Doesn't it mean that they've got, like, we should think that they're going to be good now?
I know. I'm seeing Liam saying
I don't know what you're saying.
He's sure it's Craig Palmer. I didn't think it was Palmer, but I thought Palmer had left, to be honest. But it's really disappointing for them, and maybe they'll be competitive next year. Maybe they just need a wee year to regroup, and then when the league is, in quotations,
I mean, like when was the last time that Petershill were good, like competing for honours at the top end of the Premier League?
You're probably going back about 15 years or something like that.
Do you know what I mean? Like, that's no. We shouldn't be holding that up as a standard.
I know, but having said that, they did win that.
They're a traditional team with that, and you know I've got a soft spot for the old traditional teams, but they're not traditional anymore because they play at an absolute cow heap of an Astro at Petershill Park. So hell mend them.
Fair enough.
Hell mend them. Right, okay, into the second division. This is obviously the West of Scotland Facebook, Twitter page has obviously decided to change the games about just to keep me on my toes, make sure I'm paying attention. BELLSHILL obviously didn't play Larkhall, they played THREAVE, and the game of the day, with a couple of comments on from BELLSHILL guys about it, but great win yesterday. Oliver Jones just saying BELLSHILL, great win yesterday for them, which it was. It's a really, really fantastic result for BELLSHILL. And I saw a wee clip. I don't know. Do you know John Connolly, the goalie coach at Wraith, who was about
indeed
seen for years? I saw he was at the game yesterday, and he put a wee thing on his Instagram of the crowd. It looked like a really good crowd as well. I bet that would have been a cracker to be at yesterday. It's
a great result for BELLSHILL. They beat THREAVE before as well, didn't they? So they're the only team to beat THREAVE. THREAVE have only lost twice this season, and both to BELLSHILL. To me, that really puts BELLSHILL in the driving seat. They're 5 points clear with 7 games to go. What a season it's been for them.
Because it could have been half the rails when Jonny left now.
Aye, and they didn't. Maybe that bit of continuity was what they needed. Just the assistants stepping up and stuff, and they've done really well. I think that they should be really happy with it, and it looks like the people at BELLSHILL are turning out in good numbers to support them as well, which is obviously great and obviously helps with revenue for the club. But aye, that's a really, really good result for them. And
I'm going to take these results. I think these are 2 weeks ago results. Hold on.
Aye, because we've got
800 here yesterday. Oliver was saying,
"Wow, that's incredible. That's incredible for a team in the 3rd tier of the West of Scotland."
It's amazing. It's amazing, and there we go.
Well done.
I'd uploaded the ones for the for a couple of weeks ago. So my bad.
Silly guy. The three was Ross Irvin not been there anymore. That's it. The wheels have come off.
Kenny saying Mark Mackay is listed as the PG manager, just going back to the PG point, Palmer's as assistant.
I didn't think it was Palmer to the team, but
anyway, back to BELLSHILL. Fantastic 2-0 against THREAVE. Unbelievable result. I did say that I've said for day one that I fancy BELLSHILL to win the league. So thank you to the guys at BELLSHILL for making me look no as daft as I maybe do look. But I suppose, do you think that's, I don't want to say it's done, but how much of an advantage do you think that gives BELLSHILL?
Massive, because obviously we THREAVE beat BELLSHILL first game. Well, cheers for that, Scott. I thought it was still away, but I think that
we're doing well tonight. Us too.
We're really on it. I think that if you're looking at it, BELLSHILL have dropped 4 games. Have dropped points in out of 23. It's unlikely that they're going to drop points that many in 7, but they could go and lose next week. THREAVE could win, and the pressure's right on. But I agree with you. I think that BELLSHILL are definitely in the driving seat.
Mm-hmm. Aye, no, absolutely. And then kind of looking around the results for anything else that jumps out at you, PG. I think for me, Les Mahigo going to Maryhill. Were you at it?
I was indeed. That's
your update.
It wasn't the best of games. The park at Lockburn was how the park at Lockburn gets when it's raining and heavy and boggy. Neither team really get the chance to play any football. I thought Les Mahigo did deserve their win. They were a bit more robust, and they clearly had a bit of quality in their team, and they did well. They deserved the win. See, if I'm being honest, I think 3-0 might have been a wee bit more favourable than the result should have been, but they definitely deserved their win. So that'll be me getting back into coaching again. That's that. I'll put it out there. Since I get the bin for Yoker, I spoke to Mark yesterday, so I'm going to be getting into coaching Maryhill, so I'm looking forward to that.
What's wrong with him? Is he alright?
I don't know, mate. I don't know. Maybe he wants them not to get promoted or something. I don't know.
What about you, though? You're saying you're too busy and all that kind of stuff, and you're still...
I think there's something wrong with me, though. Like, I can't sit still.
No, you're quite right, mate. Listen, mate, all the best with it.
Cheers.
We wish you all the very best and good luck. Touch on Greenock, just because Gary Fleming obviously left post last weekend as well. So disappointed for Gary. I sent him a message, just said he felt it was the right time to move on. So disappointing for Greenock, but good result for Andy and Blantyre.
Really good result. They needed that just to keep. I know they're not going to win the league, but they needed that just to keep themselves right in that kind of top half of the table and guarantee themselves the promotion spot. On Greenock, I actually think it's a massive loss for Greenock not having Flemmy. Well, everybody knows, obviously, I'm a Portman, and there's no love lost with Greenock, but I really like Flemmy. I think he's a great guy, and I think he's a really good coach. I think he's somebody that somebody should take a chance on. Somebody higher up should take a chance on, because Greenock don't have a budget, really. They don't have much money. They don't have a lot. Whereas kind of some of the clubs that maybe don't do as well higher up have got more resources and stuff. Flemmy's been there with St Cadoc's. He was helping Doyley in at St Cadoc's, and I just think he's a guy that knows his stuff. So I'd say somebody should give him an opportunity, because I'm hoping he's not about for long, because he's a good guy and he's a really knowledgeable guy in our level of football.
Mm-hmm. Aye, definitely. Couple of teams in the bottom half of the table putting a couple of runs together. PG Maybole, new manager Tony Murphy in at Maybole, good mate of mine. So good luck to Tony, come from Troon 20s, previous player at Troon and Maybole as well. So good luck to him. Great result for them in his first game, going to Thorn and winning 3-2. That's 3 in the bounce for Maybole. And then Ashfield going to Larkholland, winning 2-0. That's 6 wins in a row for Peter Hill and the guys at Ashfield. So those two teams making we're talking about teams in the first division making a run. These two are potentially making a run for that top 8.
I wonder it's well done to Maybole, because they've really picked it up since since you guys left, really, to be honest. That is the thing. But no, it's been a good couple of weeks. You touch on Ashfield, that's 6 wins in the bounce for them. They're absolutely flying, and I would not have called that 2 months ago or 3 months ago. I would not have said that Ashfield. You could see the results were getting a bit better, but you wouldn't have said they were going to go and put 6 wins together. It might not be enough to get them promoted. It might just be a little too late. But again, as we touched on earlier, with teams in other leagues, they could be a really competitive side next year. Who top 3 promotion could be really possible. Maybe if they had a couple of bodies, maybe going and winning the league's possible for them. So it's a really good wee spell for Ashfield. I'm pleased to see it because there's good people running Ashfield and they've had a really hard time. And I heard they're going to be moving away from Stepford.
Right.
I can't remember where I'd heard they were going. Somewhere I actually didn't know. But they're hopefully starting to find their feet again and going to push on. Same with Mabel. You don't want to see teams just dropping down divisions and not being competitive. So it's good for them to get a couple of wins.
But see, you look at next weekend. So Ashfield are at home to Forth next weekend, which they're on their own. You would fancy Ashfield to win that. And then Mabel are at home to Cali Locos, which you would fancy Mabel to win that as well. So then you're looking at another 3 points in the board. So
I know they're not at it. They're definitely not at it. I just think what kind of goes against them is the amount of games they've played. Compared to, I say for us at Maryhill, we've played 4 games less than Mabel.
For us,
I'm there now. We've played 4 games less than Mabel, so that gives you a wee bit of breathing room. That even a couple of wins there, I mean, that can give you that wee extra bit of breathing room. And Lark Hall, I'd heard they had quite a few missing yesterday. I think they were bare bones for what I was told. But Lark Hall are a team who, I've said it numerous times, Lark Hall could go and beat BELLSHILL by 2 or 3, but then go and lose to Forth by 2 or 3. It just depends what Lark Hall team turn up. So it'll be interesting. It definitely will. And I was talking to somebody who was at the Cali Locals game yesterday, and I didn't realise how young their squad was. They've got
just young boys, is it?
It's honestly like the team full of 18, 19, 20-year-olds. It's really, really young side. So I know they're having a shocking season. If you look at it on paper, it's been really poor. Stevie's obviously maybe not expected it to be quite as hard going in, but when you're losing all your best players, a lot of them going to Coolside Rangers, obviously following the previous management team, it's really difficult for them. So hopefully they're a team that can pick up as well. And we talk about managers getting time. That's one where I think he has to get a bit of time. And if it doesn't work out next season, maybe the club need to look elsewhere. But I don't think you can base how they're doing this season on the results aren't quite matching with what they've got, and how hard that is for them. Same with Forth. I know Jerry's just signed a new contract at Forth. I didn't know that managers sign contracts at this level, but he's got another couple of years. A team who have really struggled, only 1 win in 23. But I heard there's a wee bit of money going back. I know a lot of money, but they're going to be able to pay players again. So maybe that's something that can help them pick up.
Just on Maryhill then, PG, just before we finish up, obviously the great start to the season. Matt, I was kind of talking to Matt pretty regularly back then, but I think it's 4 or 5 without a win. Is Matt kind of alluded to what the problem is? It injuries or is what's kind of happening?
Mark was on the bench yesterday, so that kind of tells you the situation they're in. Because
when's Butch coming?
I know. I tell you what, you could do a lot worse than getting Butch in. To be honest, even though he's nearly 40, you could do a lot worse than getting him in. But actually, I've obviously been speaking to Mark a wee bit about waking in and coaching there, but I came maybe 10 minutes into the first half yesterday, and I looked across at the bench, and it was like, you can tell that they're struggling for bodies just now. So it's one of those ones where people calling off sick in the morning and stuff for that with a bug and whatnot. So I think once they get the players back, then there should be enough there to push on and try and get promoted. But you know how it works when it's at that level and boys don't get paid much money and there's other commitments creep in. It's a tale as old as time, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Liam's just saying there, do you think Ashfield and Glasgow Persia should merge?
No. I get what you're saying, Liam, but no, definitely no.
Posso United?
Posso United, that'd be quite interesting, but no, I don't think that should happen. Two clubs with a lot of history.
Aye, no, I don't think so. If you start going down that road, then you look at Coolside Rangers and Coolside and Maybole and Girvan, and do you know what I mean? Like all that.
You could have a super club down in East Ayrshire with Talbot, Cumnock, and Glenafton.
I know, and Lugar. Don't forget Lugar.
And Lugar as well.
Okay, speaking of Lugar, we'll get into the third division where Lugar lost 1-0 to Dalry. That game was played at Ardrossan, I believe, due to the ongoing issues at Merksworth Park, and Easterhouse beat Girvan 4-0. So good decision to get rid of Dean Keenan, and Funart beat Glasgow Pershore 2-0 as well, and Glenville beat Kello 2-0 in for the first four results. PG.
Do you know? See, for me, I actually think Glenville are giving themselves a fighting chance to. I know they've played more games than most teams, and it might be a bit too much, but they seem to have picked up in the last few weeks, getting a couple of decent-ish results. And I actually think Lewis has done a really good job there. He's still a young manager, and I think he's done a really good job there with, again, very limited budget and stuff like that. So I think that's a good result for them. Good for Dalry and their new management team to get a win as well, and just keep a bit of pressure on the teams above them, because they were starting to slip down a wee touch. So they're keeping themselves in the hunt in 7th place and hoping to push on with the games in hand. Like you said,
PG, I agree totally with what you're saying about Glenville. I saw that they brought in a young lad called Mikey McPeak, who's from Prestwick, where I stay as well, and he's at Irvine Meadow just now. We had him at Maybole at the start of the season. Very talented footballer, and once he gets to grips at how to play the men's game without being disrespectful, then he could be a really good player. But great quality, and I saw he scored a cracking free kick against Dalry a couple of weeks ago, so maybe he's doing the business for you. In terms of Easterhouse and Girvan, any thoughts on our friend Dino leaving Girvan?
I think it's a bit of a joke, to be honest with you. I mean, obviously, I'm not going into too much detail. We've both spoken to Dean, and I think that how it's been handled has been pretty poor. I think that they're coming out and saying that there's no improvement. This was a team who, in the 3rd division last year, were struggling to keep themselves in the 3rd division, and now he's the team that was sitting 6th in the league. I don't believe they'll finish there, and they might just slip out of the top 8. But to me, that signs an improvement. I don't get the need to move them on. Even wait to the end of the season and see what happens. But I just think it's a really, really poor decision on their part. Dino can be a big character, and he doesn't shy away from giving his opinion, but he's honest, and I think that it's no great for me. I just think that they should have kept him. But Easterhouse, good result for them. They really needed that, and it keeps them on the periphery of making that top 8 as well. So Danny will be really pleased to go and get such a convincing one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I will. And I think I've got Danny coming on the show next weekend.
Good.
So that'll be good. I've never met Danny, so it'll be good to have a chat with him as well. Right, okay, the big one, PG, your beloved Port. Can you still say that? Although Liam's just saying.
No, I can still say it. I can still say it.
PG playing for Maryhill next.
What?
Just to put up on the Girvan thing, I know we spoke about it last week. I've spoken to Dino during the week. It's I've watched how things have played out at Girvan, and let's just say I'm not surprised because I've seen this record. To use an old phrase my granny used to say, I've had apples off this cart before. You know? So that's all I'm going to say. So I'm not surprised the way that they've gone about things with some of the characters that are there. Okay, Port Glasgow, your beloved Port, 2-1 win.
The mighty Port, delighted for them, particularly after a surprise defeat last week to Glasgow United. I was really, really surprised at that. That is the Port, though. That's what they kind of do every now and again. But Knights would have really had the Port's number. I mean, I think they've beaten them the last 3 or 4 games. So for the Port to go and beat them yesterday, that was a really big one for them. Puts 5 points between the two of them, but Knights would have 3 games in hand. I think Knights are good enough to go ahead of them. But I'm really, really pleased for Tam. I think that the Port are building a good side, just as I think Craigmark and Knightswood are building good sides. And they'll be teams that will be really competitive next year in the second division. I think that they're going to add a lot of quality to that division. Just to slightly go off on a tangent, you look at most of the leagues, like for talking about the Premier League, won't be anywhere near as strong next season as it is this season. And I think the first won't be as strong as it is this season. But I actually think the second division will be very, barring one or two teams, will be very similar quality as it is to this season. And that's because you've got a good Craigmark coming up, good Port Glasgow, good Knightswood. Yoker as well. If Yoker can hold on to most of their players, then Yoker have got a good side. So I think it could add a bit of quality to the second division as well next season. But aye, great result for the Port. I still think they'll finish third. But if you'd said 2 years ago, Itam, when they had, in my opinion, a poorish season, that you're going to be in the second division in 2 years' time for the fourth division, then I think that they'd be really happy. So it's a very good result for them. Because even if, sorry to continue going on, but even to say like 8 teams getting promoted, you're looking at Port Glasgow. They'd be getting. I see that Kenny saying that.
Maybe
10 potential if Clydebank go up. And be fair, the way Clydebank are going, they've found a bit of form at a really good time. So it could be good for teams. But in normal circumstances, the Port have come up a league and would be in that top 3 to get promoted. So I just think that you've really got to take your hat off to them and Knightswood in particular for how good they've been the last couple of years.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They've been a credit to the league, definitely. Yoker beat Glasgow United 2-0, but I want to just touch on Ardeer beating St Anne's 4-1 now. It's probably a game that Ardeer should have won, but then we would probably have said that about the game against Glasgow Pershore and games against Lugar that they've struggled to win. No win in 7, I think, before yesterday. So it was really important for Sean and the boys at Ardeer to get off the slide and to get a win under their belts.
I was looking at the results as they came in like I do most Saturdays, and I saw the Ants went 1-0 up, and a part of me thought, oh no, are Ardeer just going to fall apart here? They've had a really poor run. They're kind of clinging on to that 8th spot just now. And I know that Sean will be bitterly disappointed with how the season's playing out, particularly after a really strong start. I think they're lucky in a sense, though, that it's the Ants are playing. Now, I know, obviously, it's transpired that Paul's now left the Ants, but the Ants are an absolute disaster right now. It seems like nothing has gone right for them. 2 wins in 23 this season. They're miles away. They've conceded 81 goals. They've only scored 22. It's just no good enough. I don't know what they do to fix it. I don't know if there's the Ants are a club I really like. Had a short period of time there, but going so well with the committee, and they've actually been really good to me in terms of I've done a couple of charity runs and they couldn't have done enough to support me in them. So it's a club I really like, but I don't know what's going on there. I don't know why it's quite as bad as it appears.
Aye, it's a good club. I mean, it's a good club. It's a bit like I kind of liken them a bit to the way Lugar are down here now. I've got personal affinity to Lugar, but the way that the season that they've had with such great people there, you don't want to see it. But hopefully they can get a new manager in that can get things sorted out for them. Liam just asking if Easterhouse or Clyde are getting Stepford. I don't know. I've not heard anything about that. Have you heard anything?
As far as I'm aware, Easterhouse are still going to be staying at Stepford. I know they've had a couple of issues with the fair charity that own the facility, but you've got Easterhouse branding everywhere on the place, and it's right in the heart of Easterhouse, so I'd imagine they'll be staying there. I've not heard otherwise anyway. I don't know about Clyde. I don't know I don't pay attention to what's happening in League 2, but I've not heard anything about that at all.
Mm-hmm. Aye, no, definitely. Okay, into the last but not least, the 4th division. PG, do you think Royal Albert could win this league?
I do. I do think they've got. I mean, they're 11 points back.
Connor wasn't even there yesterday. I've seen his Instagram. He's away living it up abroad somewhere.
Maybe he should stay away then. I think that they definitely have enough quality. They've lost 2 games in 22. The draws early in the season, like we touched on it in previous shows, have been a real killer for them. But they win their games in hand. They're in a really good spot. East Kilbride YM and West Park are obviously flying just now, and the two of them, they're looking like they're not going to drop too many points. But Royal Albert definitely have enough quality to get themselves up. Just looking at it, Royal Albert get BSC, Campbelltown, Wishaw, and Carluke in their next 4 games. And if I'm being honest, you could not have a better 4 games, really. Unless you swapped out Carluke for WOSFL, you could not have a better 4 games to try and pick up maximum points. And then, conversely, the last 4 games are Vale Leaving, East Kilbride Thistle, Campbelltown, and East Kilbride YM in the final day. I think that could be a title decider.
That'd be amazing.
Aye, so I think that they definitely could be in a position to go and win this league. But you have to go and beat the other teams about. Because looking at the Vale Leaving one yesterday, I thought that was a really disappointing result for them. I just think that's a game they've got to go and win if they want to have any chance of winning the league.
I saw somebody saying that the part wasn't great, which anybody that's been to New Mains will probably know that can be the case, but you've still just got to find a way, haven't you?
Aye, I think that kind of ended their chances of winning the league yesterday, if I'm being honest. If they'd won that, they'd be sitting a game in hand on West Park and 6 points behind. That's no insurmountable, but now you're sitting 9 points back. It becomes a lot more difficult for them. And with Royal Albert in such good form, East Kilbride YM in such good form, West Park in such good form, I just don't see Vale Leaving being able to go and win this league now.
Aye, I think it's going to come down to those 3, definitely, which isn't really, again, I'm not going to get any massive awards for predicting that those 3 will be in with the chance of winning the league. But you look at their form, they just don't seem to be dropping points. But I just feel, and I don't know whether it's because I know Connor, I don't know anybody from EKYM or from West Park, but I just feel like there's a bit of momentum. They've just built up a real head of steam. You know, they're just kind of charging through games at the minute. And you said that I looked at that run-in that you just mentioned and think, I can't see where they're going to drop points until they get to those games at the end of the season.
Aye. And even that, I would say, based on how things have gone, I think Vale Leaving have got enough about them on their day to be able to beat Royal Albert or cause them issues. But even with how things are going just now, if Royal Albert win their 4 games, I'd expect them to go and beat Vale Leaving as well. So it really comes down to when they play the 2 East Kilbride teams for me that can be a decider. But aye, it's like we spoke about earlier. These things can change so quickly. Royal Albert can go out and have a nightmare against BSC next week, and then you're starting to say, "Oh no, that's them done." So it can change quickly. But I think they're in a position. They've got a bit of momentum behind them just now, and I think that they can go and impact.
I think BSC were it was 0-0 at half time, and then I think there was a penalty.
It just fell apart.
It just kind of fell apart. So they're not an easy team to beat, you know. So it's going to be a cracking running. I really look forward to seeing you.
I tell you what, Johnny, can we talk about, since you're the Ayrshire man, can we talk about Irvin Vicks? What is going on there?
You've obviously read my mind because it was the next thing I was going to bring up, mate, to be honest. But that's 5 without a win, 3 wins in the last 10. For Ben, they've slipped down to 9th in the table. I expected them to be real title contenders this season. Now, they've got games in hand, and St Peter's above them, and a couple of other teams above them. So I still fancy them to do enough to get in the top 8. But I think they'll be concerned about their season so far, because I'm sure that everybody at that club would have expected them to be top of the table. Or thereabouts.
Yeah, I know they've scored 50, but you've conceded 50 goals in 22 games.
Yeah, we spoke about it. We spoke about it on the show, though. There was how many games? There was games that was like 6-5 and 7-5, and you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. You look back through some of the results. Some of the results were absolutely nonsensical. And I remember, I'm sure I was on with you around about Christmas time when we spoke. There was like 2 or 3 games where it was like 1-0 or 0-0 or 2-1 or something like that. And we felt that things were maybe turning in the right direction, but then it just seems to have reverted to type, you know. And you can't concede goals like that. You can and just rely on scoring goals to win games. I mean, I know it sounds daft when you see some of the results in our leagues, but you have to be better defensively if you want to get to the top of the table.
100%. I just think that part of the issue they're facing as well is, I know St Peter's have had BSC and they've had Campbelltown in recent weeks, right? But they've won 3 in a bounce, and I know they've played 3 games more, but Irvine Vic's only winning. So it is conceivable that Irvine Vics could lose 4 at the next 5, and St Peter's only need to win 2 at the next 5 to put themselves in a position where they're starting to get kind of even with them or get a wee bit ahead of them. So they really need to be careful with it. And GIFNOCK for me are a funny team as well. They could potentially win a couple of games and close the gap as well. So it is very tight for them. And I think that if Irvine Vics don't get promoted, it's been a shocking season for them.
Right. No, I would agree with you in that. I definitely would. And I see they go to Saltcoats next week, which according to the
tough game.
According to the website, according to the West of Scotland Football League website, it's at Valefield, so back on the grass for Saltcoats.
Nah. So that might be a benefit for Saltcoats. I wouldn't be surprised if Saltcoats get something off them next week. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if Irvine Vics can go and win it, but it's not an easy game for them next week. It really isn't it?
Mm-hmm. No, but the run-in's going to be an absolute cracker. I can't wait to see, especially if Royal Albert keep going the way they're going. EKYM been real success stories for me this season.
Definitely
coming into the league and just found their. I remember they kind of had a couple of iffy results towards the start of the season. I think they lost their first 2, didn't they? Irvine Vics and Carluke, I think.
They did have a sticky start, but they've sure turned it around.
I'm just looking there. They play West Park on the 11th of April at West Park, so that'll be a really good one. They've got Newmains, West Park, St Peter's, Eglinton, East Kilbride, Thistle, and Royal Albert. That's a really tough run.
A tough run, aye. That is a tough run. And the thing is, see if they're going to win the league, you have to go and beat them. But you could see points being dropped there as well, because I know East Kilbride Thistle, they've got quite a lot of games in hand, and like they're not even out yet, to be honest. If they win their games in hand, they're right back in the hunt. But it's a lot to overcome. And like we said earlier, and I think it was Liam that agreed with, you'd rather have the points on board than the games in hand.
West Park, they don't have a game next week, then they go East Kilbride, YM, GIFNOCK, Newmains, and Rossvale. So I'd say EKYM definitely get the hardest run.
Definitely, aye. They definitely have. And maybe that's part of the reason why the run of form's been so good, is that they've had more of the favourable games because of a hard start and a hard finish. So they've had more of their favourable games through the middle of the season, and that's why they've picked up so many points. But for what I hear, they're a good side, and they try and play good football. So it's good to see them having such a good season in the first year in, which I think a lot of you thought they would. And
EKYM FC GR is just saying GIFNOCK were very good yesterday, can trouble anyone on their day, which we know they can. Yep. You know, and again, I know we're talking about the top 3, top 4. I think the battle for the 8 or 10 or whatever it's going to be is going to be good. So I hope Paul Smith's still watching, because we will discuss Clydebank right now, because that would be a massive if Clydebank could do the business.
Sorry, before we do that, can we just do Campbelltown watch, since we like to talk about Campbelltown? So they lost 4-0 yesterday. So that is 14 wins and 101 league games at a level. It just continues, right? But well done to St Peter's on the win yesterday. Let's talk about Clydebank.
Right. Well, before we do, let's just put a wee bit on the Stepford stuff. So Kenny's just saying that Clyde have put a bid in for an asset transfer of Stepford, as have Easterhouse. So just have to wait.
I hope Easterhouse get it.
So they are. I mean, Clyde's playing at Hamilton and Hamilton playing at Clyde. See, once you do that, you shouldn't be allowed to do anything in football, to be honest.
I know, and just to add to it, Clyde's one of my former teams.
Aye, but that's about everybody, though.
Nah, that's one of my, I think, to be honest, I think almost everybody played for Clyde at one point as well.
Did you play first team?
I was full-time with them and played in reserves, but I was there the year after they put Celtic at the Scottish Cup and Roy Keane's debut.
A few of my mates were in that squad. Neil McGregor, Stevie
so Neil was there when I was there. I was one of the young players at the
time. Stevie Master and Eddie Malone.
Yep.
Good mates of mine. So aye, good. Right. So Clydebank. I don't really follow the Lowland League. I follow Clydebank on X, so I do see results and stuff like that. But they're looking as if they're in a good place and could be opening up, as Kenny says, 10 promotion spots for the teams below if they get the job done. Do you think they can?
I think they can. I'd have said maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago it's looking unlikely. Bonnyrigg were absolutely flying. Then you've had a couple of good results, and yesterday I know it wasn't. I don't know how the game panned out. I know it finished 1-0. It wasn't a overly emphatic win, but it's a win. It's a clean sheet. Clydebank, even though they only scored one yesterday, scored a lot of goals, and I think that them a real shout. They've got Cowdenbeath during the week, and it's actually slipped my mind who they've got next Saturday, but they're definitely in the hunt with it. They need to keep an eye on it because Linlithgow have started to come back as well. So Linlithgow are in with a real shout of getting them. I think it's going to be a really interesting finish to the league because you've got 4 teams potentially who can maybe go and win it. So it'll be interesting. And I really want Clydebank to do well because I still consider them one of our clubs. I'd really like them to do well. Obviously, I really like Moff and Gaz and stuff there as well. So for them, I'd like them to get promoted. But a wee part of me would like them to be in the West of Scotland Loan League. The Loan League West next season because it's just another good side and it's a great crowd. And it would be really interesting to have Talbot and Clydebank and all that playing against each other again. But it would be good for them to get promoted, and they're definitely in my shot.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. And it'd be good for everybody else because it means that could be looking at 10 teams up because obviously Stirling will go down to the Loan League East. So you're looking at 10 promotion spots. So we've spent all season talking about the top 8 and then it's going to be a waste of time, really, isn't it?
It might be pointless. But I think that I think it's going to be really interesting for them, and I do hope they go up. But I would like the idea of having them back as well. But it's going to be tight.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just looking. Sorry, I've got it up there. So as it stands, Bonnyrigg are on 65 points, having played 31 games. Clydebank are on 64, played 30. Tranent are on 63, played 30. And Linlithgow are on 62, played 29. Mm-hmm. So you get any of the 4 teams could win the league. So it makes it very, very tight. And it shows though, like that's 3 former East junior sides in there. And the first West Premier team to get promoted are right in the hunt to win it. So it shows that the kind of junior teams are the better teams of it.
Do you know the only thing for me looking further ahead is to get promoted, they're going to need to beat potentially Edinburgh City, who are in a false position due to the points deduction. I actually think Edinburgh City are a right good side. So I think that will be really, really impressive if the Loan League winners, first of all, beats the Highland League winners, but then goes on to beat the Team 42, because I think Edinburgh City, are a good side.
I'd like you said, it's a false position for them. But it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see how it pans out. I think they'd have preferred Dumbarton, but with the 10 points, that obviously through the deductions and stuff, that 10 points is going to be probably too hard for them to close down in the last 5 games. But you see, to be honest, as poor as the setup is in terms of the winners of the Loan League and the winners of the Highland League should automatically go into League 2. They just have to go and beat them. That's it. It's what you need to do. So you just go and beat them with 2 legs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, definitely. Okay, mate. You got anything else you want to, any mail news or anything like that you want to talk about before we wrap up?
No. I think that's us. We've bored these lovely people for long enough.
No, not at all. It's been good. It's been good as always. I've really enjoyed it. It's been good chat. Thanks to everybody for getting involved. The comments have been great coming in as always. The chats. Apologies if we don't get to them all, but we try we try as best we can to get to as many comments and questions as we possibly can, and we really appreciate your engagement. Remember, hit that like button. Do it just now if you're watching. Just before you switch off the stream, make sure and hit the like button. If you're watching this, if you're rewatching this, hit the like button on both the streams as well. Please subscribe to the Pyramid Promotions channel. It is much appreciated. If you're listening in audio form, download the episode, rate and review on your podcast networks. We are sponsored by Roxburgh Insurance Brokers, GLA Chauffeurs and VSN Sport. Don't forget you can catch this show on a Monday evening on East End Community Radio, and you can also catch me talking about West of Scotland football for the at 10 a.m. on Now Ayrshire Radio if you're down here as well. Right, PG.
Let's see it.
Right. I'm going to show you.
I think we've just missed it.
We have just missed it. We're the same as last week. 3.8. Again, I think that's the third week in a row. I've been 3.8, 3.9, round about there, right? But do you know how we were talking last week and we were saying that, and I was kind of, or 2 weeks ago, and I was saying like how sometimes you think it's just us two talking about football, and you don't think people are actually interested in what we're saying, you know, and then you'll get a message that makes you go, oh, actually people do actually like what we do and are interested in it. So Bernard McPhee,
right,
he's the analyst at Irvine Meadow.
Right, okay.
Right? He sent me a DM on X last night and says, I hear you talk about the average goals on a podcast and thought you might appreciate some data. He's got around average goals per week, and he sent me a PDF that Bernard's put together, which is absolutely outstanding. And he's got the average goals for the full season.
Excellent.
Which is unbelievable. So across the season, as of March 27th, which was obviously Saturday there, Friday, so just before yesterday's games, 1,355 games, average 4.07
yes.
goals. So
yes.
Across the whole season, we're above the 4 average.
I love that commitment that he's actually done that.
It's amazing. So the third division is the highest, 4.2
that makes sense.
Then the second division, 4.1, 4.16. First division, 4.09. Fourth division, 3.88. And the Premier Division, 3.59.
It's
cup games as well. So
that's brilliant. I do appreciate that kind of.
Oh, it's brilliant. I really appreciate Bernard sending it on to me. And what I'll ask him to do is at the end of the season, maybe he can give us a total for the season. You know, once the season all wraps up.
That would be good.
See where we're at.
Before we finish up, I want to shout out to see what's happened to our two Talbot guys. Where's Craig and Chainsaw Chap? Where are they?
I know the Chainsaw Chap wasn't here last week. I don't know if he was watching the Scottish Cup draw. He's maybe not paid his broadband bill. But Craig came in earlier. He was just saying he was at his regional game for his under 16, so he missed the start. Good win for Talbot. Couple of good signings too. Yeah, we spoke about that, Craig. So you'll need to go back and re-watch him while you're doing. Make sure you hit the like button on the video. But the Chainsaw Chap wasn't here last week either.
Oh, well, I hope he's all right because he's
probably got an accident with a chainsaw.
Particularly when he's on his bike. But I hope he's all right because it's appreciated. We've actually had, obviously I'm not on every week, but we've had quite a few different people commenting this week, which is genuinely really appreciated. So thanks to everybody that does that. But we also like our regulars to stay.
Aye, no, definitely, it's amazing. I think I don't know why, but I think the last 2 or 3 weeks, I would say, PG, probably, I feel like the comments, the viewers and stuff like that has really picked up, which has been really, really good, you know, definitely. Because it would be a bit rubbish doing this on a Sunday night and nobody was interested.
Very true, very true.
Right, mate. So as I said, I will be back next Sunday at 7 o'clock. We'll recapping all the weekend's action. Be joined by Danny Simpson, the Easter House manager, who's going to come on and talk a wee bit. Maybe he'll be able to shed some light on the Stepford carry on when he's on next week. And then 2 weeks' time, we will see your good self again, PG.
Definitely, mate. I will be there.
Brilliant. Thanks very much for joining us. Thanks to everybody that has tuned in. Until next week, I've been Jonny Bailey. He's been PG. Take care of yourselves and each other. Cheers.